Eleanor Finch had worked at the Whitmore Library for 20 years, content among the towering shelves and dust-laden tomes. The library, an imposing structure of Gothic architecture, stood at the heart of Ravenshire, a town known for its long winters and whispered legends. Eleanor had always dismissed the rumors that the library held secrets, until the night she found the book. It was a peculiar evening. The storm outside howled against the windows, rattling the glass as rain lashed against the stone walls. Eleanor was completing her nightly routine, ensuring that the library was in order before closing. As she moved between the shelves, her fingers brushed against the spines of books she knew by heart. But then, in the farthest corner of the library, where the air always felt a degree colder, she noticed something unusual. A book that should not have been there. It rested on a wooden pedestal, separate from the others, as if deliberately placed. Its cover was blackened with age, the leather worn and cracked, the title barely legible in faded gold lettering, The Book of Lost Fates. A shiver ran down Eleanor's spine. She did not remember ever cataloging this book, nor had she ever seen it before. With a cautious hand, she reached for it. The moment her fingers made contact, an unnatural chill seeped through her skin, and the library's lights flickered. She hesitated, glancing around. The library was empty. She was alone. Taking a deep breath, Eleanor opened the book. The pages were blank. At least, they were at first. But as she flipped through, words began to appear, ink bleeding onto the pages as if written by an unseen hand. The first lines sent ice through her veins. Eleanor Finch, Librarian of Whitmore, your time has come. Her breath hitched. The ink moved again, shifting and reforming. Your story is not yet finished, but your fate is already written. Turn the page to see what awaits. Eleanor's hands trembled. Was this a trick? Had someone planted the book to frighten her? But no one else had been in the library. No one could have predicted she would find this book tonight. Against her better judgment, she turned the page. Her heart nearly stopped. The next passage detailed her every move from that very moment. The way she swallowed nervously, the way her breath quickened. It described how she hesitated, debating whether to close the book or keep reading. And then she saw the final line on the page. A shadow moves behind her. Eleanor's blood turned to ice. She spun around, her pulse pounding in her ears. The library was still empty, but the air felt heavier, as if something unseen lingered just out of sight. She swallowed hard and turned back to the book. The words had changed again. It knows you have seen the book. It is watching. A sudden noise shattered the silence. A book tumbling from a high shelf, crashing to the floor. Eleanor let out a sharp gasp, her hands gripping the cursed book. The room seemed to darken. The once familiar library now a maze of shadows and unseen threats. She slammed the book shut, but the words burned in her mind. Her fate was written, and something was watching. Eleanor's instinct screamed for her to leave, to lock the library and never return. But something inside her, some quiet defiance, urged her to keep reading. If the book could truly predict her fate, perhaps she could change it. Slowly, hesitantly, she reopened the book. The ink reformed once more. You cannot escape your fate, but you can understand it. Turn the page. Eleanor's breath was shallow as she obeyed. The next page did not describe her present movements, but a future she had not yet seen. It showed her wandering through the library's restricted archives, descending a hidden staircase she had never known existed. At the bottom, she would find a door, and behind that door, the page went blank. Frustration warred with fear. Was this book manipulating her, leading her somewhere she should not go? But curiosity was a force stronger than fear. And if she had learned anything in her years among books, it was that every mystery had an answer. Determined, she followed the book's instructions. The restricted archives were located behind a heavy oak door in the eastern wing, an area rarely visited. As Eleanor stepped inside, dust particles swirled in the dim glow of her lantern. She had worked in this library for decades, yet something about this room now felt foreign, as if she were intruding. She ran her fingers along the shelves, searching for any sign of a hidden passage. Then, just as she was about to give up, her fingertips brushed against an uneven groove in the wood. With a soft click, the shelf shifted, revealing a narrow, spiraling staircase descending into darkness. Eleanor hesitated. The book had foreseen this moment, but had not shown her what lay beyond. Taking a deep breath, she stepped down. The descent felt endless, the air growing colder with each step. Finally, she reached a heavy iron door, its surface covered in strange, archaic symbols. With trembling hands, she pushed it open. Inside was a small chamber, dimly lit by an eerie blue glow. In the center of the room sat a pedestal, and atop it, another book. This one was pristine, its leather cover smooth, its title embossed in gold, The Librarian's Last Book. Eleanor approached cautiously. Unlike the Book of Lost Fates, this book did not emanate dread. It felt expectant. She reached out, fingers trembling, and opened it. The first line chilled her to the core. Eleanor Finch, you have broken the cycle. The words blurred, reshaping themselves into a new passage. For centuries, this library has held its keeper captive, bound to its knowledge. But knowledge is not meant to be hoarded. It is meant to be shared. You have defied the book's will, and in doing so, you have freed yourself. Eleanor's vision swam. Was this true? Had every librarian before her been trapped? Their fates sealed the moment they touched the Book of Lost Fates? As she looked down, the ink in the librarian's last book began to fade. And then, so did the walls of the chamber. The library trembled around her, the very foundations shifting. The shelves groaned, books tumbling from their places. The hidden chamber was collapsing, unraveling the curse that had held it together for centuries. Eleanor ran. She barely made it to the staircase as the chamber imploded behind her, its secrets swallowed into nothingness. Gasping, she stumbled into the main library just as dawn broke through the stained glass windows. The book was gone. The curse was lifted. For the first time in 20 years, Eleanor Finch was truly free. She left the library that morning and never returned. No one ever found the Book of Lost Fates again. But sometimes, on stormy nights, when the wind howled through the streets of Ravenshire, the library's lights flickered just for a moment, as if something, somewhere, still remembered.